The idea of birth itself is a deterrent to growth. Why? Well, you are dependent when you are born. You're dependent upon your mother. Okay? Even before birth, you are dependent upon your mother. Because when the baby's been formed in the mother's womb, it's like it's got a little miner's hat and a little pick, and it's mining all the minerals and all the stuff that it needs to. So mommy is just kind of this big mine shaft, okay, that supplies us with many things. Her emotions during pregnancy affect the child. It prepares the child emotionally for life. So if you are pretty even, the baby will generally be that way, because of the enzymes that you produce that go through the baby's body, and that helps the baby to produce its own feelings and to begin to have its own feelings. All manner of things, what you eat, what you smoke, what you drink, the whole bit affects the development of the child. So the child has a dependency already formed. The first consciousness of the child is almost, I say almost perfection, in that it doesn't have to worry about cold, heat, all that stuff. It's always womb temperature, okay? It's constant. So there's a certain expectation. You know, this is how human consciousness is. It likes what it's been cultivated in. Birth. Birth starts the process of living in the unknown. Sometimes those of you who have small children or have had babies and that kind of thing, sometimes you might notice that the child will, at an infant, right after it's born, it will make a movement, something like that, and start to scream. It doesn't feel the mother's womb around it. That's why they like to be wrapped up tight, yeah. How you can stop them from crying by wrapping them. Because now it's like, oh yeah, okay, I know what this is. But all of a sudden, you know, if that's not there, it's, which starts the process of insecurity. The cycle of dependency and insecurity starts with birth, or starts with life, actually. The whole thing now, after that, is to become accustomed to being an independent. But most of our ideas have been formulated around not being independent. You can never have that feeling again in this lifetime. You can never be back in mother's womb again in this lifetime. Okay, that's it, Jack. That's it. You're out there. Get used to it. Now, we have been fed and nourished in the womb. We never had to cry or whatever. Didn't have to hunt for food or warmth or shelter. All of a sudden, that all changes. Now, when you're hungry, you experience this feeling of hunger. What happens? This person comes and feeds you. Ah, okay. So the whole thing starts to set up. If I make this sound, someone will come and take care of my need. So, again, someone to take care of my need. We grow. We become bigger. I won't say we become adults. The body comes to a point of physical range that we can say is an adult thing, but not being an adult. Here, we're still looking for that something outside of ourselves that is going to reestablish that relationship of the womb. So we constantly look. We're looking in each other's eyes. Are you the one? Are you the one who's going to reestablish that? Or is this job going to give me security? We're always looking for security in something other than ourselves. That's the process. It is very difficult to rationalize this process and come to a proper solution. That is, intellectually, you can't do it because it's not an intellectual thing. It was formed before you had words. You didn't have any words to say, oh, I'm insecure, or I'm forming insecurity. Boy, let me write this down, or let me make a note of this. So there are no words. Isabel Allende, who talked about the experience of losing a daughter, her daughter dying, and the birth of a grandchild. And when the grandchild came, she was saying, tell me before you forget. Well, it's not possible. Well, we know, and she knows it's not possible, but the idea of that, tell me before you forget, you never forget. It's just that you look for it in word memory. It is not in word memory. A large part of my life, there would be a sensation that would happen. There would be this taste in my mouth. And what in the world? I try to remember. What is that? It's so familiar. What is it? And as an older person, as a older person in my 20s once, I tasted mother's milk. And that was the taste, you see. So it wasn't an intellectual, I was intellectually trying to recall it, but there were no words. All of a sudden, that's what that is. So there are many memories that you have that you look for the answer in words. The answer is not in words. The answer is in feeling. But how do you come to know that? You come to know that by coming to feeling purely, letting it bring up what is there, letting it describe for you. And then you will know. You will have this memory. So, before birth, babies do dream. They have several different kinds of dreams, as older people have different kinds of dreams. Part of the dreams that they experience are in relationship to the mother. The mother has dreams, the baby picks up that information, because one of the things you want to understand is that memory is a chemical, it's stored in forms of chemicals in your body. It is like we talked last night about a transplant. You receive a transplant from another person, all of a sudden you start having memories of things that you have had no experience of. That is because memory is stored as a chemical in various parts of the body. So that same chemical memories go through the baby's system so that the baby is prepared to come into a world, and the world is not absolutely strange. This is a part of the dreams that the child has. So the child is being prepared to come into the world. So the idea that the mother holds about the world and the society is transferred to the child, so that the child is not just, okay. They have an idea of this. What does this do? All of the racial history, when I say racial history, I'm speaking of mankind as a race. I'm speaking of canines as a race, felines as a race, turnip greens as a race. Okay.
Each consciousness is a race.
Each consciousness, when I say in this sense, racial memory. Okay. In this sense. Okay. So, in the preparation of this, the child forgets the history of mankind. But these are what your DNA is. It is a history of the race of mankind from before even conception.
From the state of no thing?
From the state of no thing. But it is more recognizable from the state of inception, because now it's we have a common language that we use to talk about and to communicate experiences. Many of the, quote, myths that we share, many of the things that come out of the consciousness of man in terms of the stories, are actually memories of man from millennium past. The great experiment. The great experiment on earth is the constant evolution of man to reach the pinnacle of mankind's being on the earth plane. On the earth plane. Once you come to the end of that range, there is another plane, another way.